What's going on, Giants fans? Welcome back. I got some neighbors playing some music. Hopefully the mic isn't picking it up. But anyway, wanted to talk about Jason Garrett, as usual. Talk about a stat I saw recently. I put it on Twitter yesterday, so if you follow me on Twitter, you know where this is going. But it's another stat that I saw that really it irked me. It annoys me that Jason Garrett is the way he is, and I'm going to tell you guys what that stat is and why I feel that way. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and let's get into it. So I teased this yesterday in the preview video, and I actually noticed this when I was doing my research for that Giants-Raiders game coming up tomorrow. A game that the Giants have a shot at winning, by the way. Will they win it? I don't know, but they have a shot, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, so I was looking at some of the deep ball numbers and whatnot. The Raiders had the most explosive plays on offense via the pass, and I'm like, the Raiders' offensive line, they lost a lot of pieces, so I went back, did some more research, and I'm like, damn, the Raiders' offensive line is pretty much just as bad as ours, but Derek Carr somehow has double the attempts on deep passes that Daniel Jones has. And we'll jump into the numbers real quick here. So, sorry, I got to clear my throat. I drank a whole Snapple, and for some reason my throat's all clogged. Anyway, so Derek Carr has 43 attempts this year of 20-plus passes. Now, Derek Carr, mind you, has played in 7 games. He's had his bye week. So Daniel Jones technically has 8 games played, but he missed half of that Dallas game, so it's like 7.5. Anyway, Daniel Jones has the advantage here. So Derek Carr, 43 attempts on deep balls. Daniel Jones all the way down this list here, as you can see, 29th in deep ball attempts at 19 on the year. That's tied with Matt Ryan. It's less than Russell Wilson, who has not played in like 3 weeks. It's less than Davis Mills. It's less than Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, just some names you should not see on here. Even Taylor Heineke is 39 somehow. So anyway, you get that question of you have fans like myself and many others that complain, why don't the Giants push the ball downfield? And then you have other fans respond, and it's a good response, but people say well, Jason Garrett doesn't have an offensive line where he can push the ball downfield. But then I went back and looked at the Raiders' offensive line, and I'm like, they're not even good either. So that's the next graphic we'll get into here. But anyway, yeah. So the fact that Derek Carr has more than double the deep ball attempts that Daniel Jones has in half a game less played really pisses me off. So that's pretty much the main talking point here. And let's get into both offensive lines. We'll talk about the weapons each team has and how it's somewhat comparable here between Jones and Carr. All right, so here's a graphic. This is from PFF. I know some people hate PFF. I actually have this backed up by Pro Football Reference as well. That's my next graphic. But anyway, here's the offensive line of the Raiders and the Giants compared next to each other, and I also have some of the weapons put up next to each other from both teams to kind of try and debunk some of the arguments of why the Giants won't go deep. Anyway, so according to PFF, the pass blocking grade for the Giants this year is a 51.6. The Raiders have a 55.2 pass blocking grade. So the Raiders are a bit better than us according to PFF in pass blocking, but both teams suck at it, let's be honest. So if you look at the Raiders' offensive line, outside of their left tackle, Colton Miller, who, by the way, the Giants could have had back in 2018 if they traded down. Colton Miller was the, 15th overall pick back in that 2018 draft, but the Giants had to take their generational running back, as we know. Anyway, their left guard to right tackle spot for the Raiders' offensive line sucks. Alex Leatherwood was a first-round pick. He has not played well. They moved him to right guard recently. Their right tackle, I think it's Brandon Parker, is the last-rated tackle in the NFL right now. Their center is 37th ranked out of 39 centers, and their left guard is 63rd ranked out of 74 guards. Their offensive line sucks, honestly. It's really bad for the Raiders. And Derek Carr, though, is the 5th-ranked quarterback in the NFL out of 34 qualifying quarterbacks. And Derek Carr likes to push the ball downfield. Now, let's look at the Giants. They have a left tackle in Matt Parrott, who's definitely had some bad reps this year, but overall he's been okay. It's not been good, but it's been okay. Matt Skura, not that great, but still, he's basically the same as the Raiders left guard, as we can see here. Center, Billy Price stinks, but based on this grade, the Raiders center is even worse. They lost Rodney Hudson over the offseason via that trade, but yeah, the Raiders center is graded out worse so far than Billy Price, which is hard to believe. Right guard spot, Will Hernandez is a better player than Alex Leatherwood right now. Right tackle spot, as bad as Nate Solder is, he somehow is graded out better than what the Raiders have at their right tackle spot. So that's embarrassing. Now, Daniel Jones is the 21st ranked quarterback out of 34. So Derek Carr has played better than Jones this year. Definitely can admit that, honestly. I don't care how big of a Daniel Jones homer and truther you are. Have to admit that Derek Carr has had a better year. Now, comparing some of the weapons, because some people will say, well, the Giants don't have as great as weapons as the Raiders have. Okay, let's go over that. So Darren Waller's the main guy here. He's the outlier. Darren Waller is one of the most talented tight ends in football, top 3, top 4 tight end in the NFL. Darren Waller is the big outlier here, but if you compare the rest of the receivers on the Raiders and compare them to the Giants, now this is rated based on the amount of targets these guys have had this year. So Henry Ruggs, while he's not on the Raiders anymore, is right now third on this team in targets. So anyway, Hunter Renfrow is a slot guy, Caucasian slot guy who does not go deep very often. He's had some explosive plays in his career. He's pretty good after the catch, but, he's not pushing the ball downfield for your offense many times. More of a move to six kind of guy, kind of like a Sterling Shepard. So, all right, let's say Shepard and Renfrow cancel each other out, okay? So then you have Henry Ruggs, who's not on the team anymore, but you can compare Kadarius Toney to a Henry Ruggs. Kadarius Toney, as we know, is explosive as hell. He can beat you deep, but the Giants don't use Kadarius Toney the right way. The Raiders were trying to use Henry Ruggs the right way until the unfortunate thing happened to him. Now, Evan Engram is third on this team in targets. Evan Engram should have been like a poor man's Darren Waller, but the Giants don't use Evan Engram the right way, and Evan Engram has not really lived up to that first-round pick that he once was back in 2017. So once again, I can't compare people to Darren Waller, unfortunately. Kenny Golladay, he might be the best wide receiver on this list based on talent. Now, the Kenny Golladay on the Raiders is Bryan Edwards. Bryan Edwards was a third-round pick a couple years back out of South Carolina. I like Bryan Edwards, but he has not had a Kenny Golladay-type career so far, and he's had some injuries in the past. So Kenny Golladay has the advantage there. And Darius Slayton against Kenyon Drake, who's a running back, I mean, you would have more of a chance of pushing the ball down the field with a Darius Slayton as compared to a running back and Kenyon Drake. So I don't think the weapon discrepancy is as big as people want to make it. Yes, the Giants don't have a Darren Waller. That would help a lot, obviously. But the Giants don't have a bad receiving core. They're just injured. And some of these guys have enough targets where there should be some deep ball targets from Daniel Jones. But the fact that Daniel Jones right now has less than half of the deep ball attempts that Derek Carr has is unacceptable in my opinion. So I don't like what I see here, and I don't think using the offensive line or receiving weapons as an excuse or a crutch is the right way to go about it. I think clearly it comes down to Jason Garrett's not aggressive enough, and maybe Daniel Jones is not pushing the ball downfield enough. Like, we've seen teams around the NFL that have worse offensive lines or just as bad offensive lines that still push the ball downfield. Look at Kirk Cousins on the Vikings. Their offensive line, I think, is graded out worse than ours in pass blocking, but Kirk Cousins still has more deep ball attempts than Daniel Jones has. Look at Russell Wilson in Seattle the past decade. Their offensive line has not been that good, but Russell Wilson, based on the scheme and those rollouts he does and those deep play action passes he has, they push the ball downfield a lot. Look at Deshaun Watson on the Texans last year. Yes, they won 4 games, as everyone loves to point out, but they still went deep a lot. It's that's my point. If Daniel Jones went deep 35 times this year and only completed 5 of them, okay. I mean, look, I could deal with that. It's just you're not hitting your deep balls. But when you're not even attempting them, that's when it annoys me. You have all these weapons on this team. Once again, yes, they haven't been too healthy. I get it. But there's no reason why this team can't go deep. It just doesn't make sense. Using the offensive line or receivers as a reason why they can't is not the right way to go about it. They can. Jason Garrett just doesn't want to. Now, here's a graphic from Pro Football Reference. I think people like this more than what PFF has to offer as a whole. So this is the percentage of quarterbacks being pressured on a team. So obviously, Mike Glennon played a half of football for the Giants, so maybe it's slightly skewed, but it gives us a pretty good idea of the percentages that Derek Carr and Daniel Jones have been pressured. And as you can see, based on Pro Football Reference's numbers here, Derek Carr, the Raiders quarterback, has been pressured more than Daniel Jones, the Giants quarterback. It's a slight number here. It's only 22.3% compared to 21%. But if Derek Carr is getting pressured more, you can't use that as an excuse once again. You can't use the offensive line for an excuse of why Daniel Jones never pushes the ball downfield, because there are teams on this list that do get more pressured, have their quarterbacks more pressured than we do, but they're still pushing the ball downfield. So, yeah, once again, I think it's a cop-out answer, and I talked about Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins right now has the worst graded pass block. Actually, I think it's second to last pass blocking offensive line in the NFL. But for some reason, Kirk Cousins still has 7 more deep ball attempts than Daniel Jones, and Kirk Cousins has already had his bye week. So once again, that's less games played than Daniel Jones has. So why does Kirk Cousins and these other quarterbacks and these Derek Carrs push the ball downfield more than the Giants do? I don't know. Jason Garrett has to answer that. And that's another reason why I want him gone. If the Giants lose this week and go into their bye, there's no reason why they can't promote Freddie Kitchens to the play caller. It makes no sense. What are we doing here with Jason Garrett? And it's not like the Giants are a good offense. They are 25th in the NFL right now in offensive points per game. They put up 17 points, I think it was, against the Kansas City Chiefs defense that couldn't stop a team of me. Well, maybe they could. But anyway, you got what I mean. They were not good on defense coming into that game. So anyway, It's been embarrassing on offense once again. We as fans were hoping that, A, the Giants would be more healthy on offense, but B, that Jason Garrett would change up his philosophy more, but he hasn't. And I'm tired of people using the offensive line as an excuse for why Daniel Jones can't push the ball downfield. It's complete nonsense, and we got to stop saying it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully Jason Garrett will change his ways, because I think at some point it's going to come to a point where Jason Garrett has to go, and it's probably getting close to that. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys next time.